Debt, fear, relationships, the children, your health, work. When you want to give up and you need courage to continue, take heart and stay tuned as R.J. Jackson writes her signature message of hope on your heart. You don't have to live where you're dying, and you don't have to die where you're living. Like every show of Conversations on Courage, you'll be informed, inspired, and encouraged to find the courage you need to succeed at home, work, and in your business. Get your pen and paper. You'll want to take notes. And now, your host, R.J. Jackson, the Courage Giver.
Hello, beautiful. I'm your friend, R.J. Jackson, your master encourager, accountability coach, speaker for your next event, and you're down to earth. I'm listening. Tell it like it is. I love you, girl. Friend. Yep. That's me. Welcome to the conversation. This is a show for women. Women who dare to be bold and courageous. Women who live life unapologetically. This is a show where you can find the courage you need in order to succeed. This is episode 1 of Conversations on Courage. It's the one you'll want to listen to over and over again. It's the one you'll share with your friends. Matter of fact, go ahead. Why don't you do that right now? Why don't you show your sister friend that you care about her and you want her to succeed? Go ahead and share the show by hitting the share button right now. After all, sharing is caring. On today's show, we promise to fill your cup with courage one sip at a time. We're going to provide you with success strategies, inspiration, and purposeful conversation. What else are we going to do while we're together? Well, we're going to respond to your questions. You know, the ones you had the courage to ask out loud on our Facebook group. Girl, I'm working on it too. Oh, and by the way, if you're new and you're not a part of our group, we invite you to join us today on Facebook, where you will find a safe place to be you, authentically you, and meaningful relationships with women just like you. We'll also share in your story, and we will provide you with a life-giving experience. And, of course, before we end, we'll talk to our featured guest. This month is set aside to raise awareness for domestic violence as well as breast cancer. Now, just before we bring our guests to the table, I would love to share with you and make you aware of some very important facts about domestic violence. Did you know that every 9 seconds a woman is involved in a domestic violence dispute? 85% of domestic violence victims are women. 1/4 women nationwide will experience domestic violence between the age of 20 and 24. Domestic violence not only affects women, but it affects our children. And boys who witness domestic violence are 2 times more likely to become abusers. Here's an alarming fact. Domestic violence is the leading cause of injury to women. Now, you can combine car accidents, muggings, and even rape, and the numbers still do not match the numbers for domestic violence. Those are alarming facts, especially since love shouldn't hurt. If it's not the bruises on the body that hurt, it's the wounds of the heart and the scars of the mind. Alicia Mirza. In my book, Strands of Pearls for the Girls, I remind women, if he hits you once, he'll hit you twice. It's called abuse, not love. You see, the Bible says that love is patient, love is kind, love is not puffed up. This is the definition in which we need to use as women as a measuring stick for what love really looks like and what we deserve. Never allow a man to hit you and then translate it to love. Love is not jealous. Love does not dishonor. Because he loves you, he will honor you and treat you like a queen. If he hits you once, he'll hit you again. And even after he promises it will never happen again, he'll hit you again. The first time he hits you, that should be the last time that you accept that type of behavior. If he hits you, it's called abuse, not love. Love is kind, sister. If he has hit you, it's not your fault. We as women tend to think that everything is our fault. We blame everything on ourselves. If things aren't going right, it's my fault. If things aren't the way you desire them, it's my fault. If things are jacked up, it's my fault. I want to encourage you today to have another thought because it's not your fault. We're not responsible for how other people choose to respond, their choices and their actions. Healing is waiting for you. Freedom is waiting for you. Love is waiting for you. Girl, it's time. It's time to give the world what they deserve, your greatness. And listen, it's not too late. Oh, no, it's not too late. And you are in the right place at the right time to get started. We just want to remind you that God's plan for your life is for a future and a hope. He wants you to be healed and whole. And what we want for you, well, girl, we want the best for you. So because we want the best, we are always bringing you and giving you the best.
Stay tuned. Coming up next, RJ brings her special guest to the table for more authentic and down-to-earth conversations on courage.
Today, we're going to talk about spirit check. We want you to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Our special guest is Michelle Collins. She is a speaker, author, and a passionate mentor who is committed to moving humanity forward. So if you're ready to move, join me in welcoming Michelle to the table for another down-to-earth, authentic conversation on courage. Michelle, welcome to the table. We're so honored to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to join in this conversation.
And it's going to be a great conversation, I already know. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. What's your story, Michelle? How did you get where you are today? Where are you? And what's up with you, girl?
Well, just like anyone else, RJ, my story is still developing, for one. And how I got here today has definitely been a process. As I look back, and that's how God works. He doesn't give you all the details up front, but as you look back, you realize that everything adds up and it all makes sense looking back. And that is the encouragement, really, to move forward, because you know that God has everything under control. He knows all the details, and it's already done. So how I got to do what I specifically do now with my platform, sharing about wellness, emotional mastery, and being more in tune with ourselves and our insides. A couple years ago, it actually will be 2 years next week, I suffered a heart attack. And when I think about the fact that my body actually attacked myself and said, Michelle, wake up. The way that you have been thinking, living, and doing things is not healthy from the inside out. So much so that my insides were broken and physically my body was affected and compromised. And I made a decision mentally and intentionally, and still I have to make that decision every single day. And sometimes when we say yes and when we're obedient to our assignment or calling or just different things, we think it just takes one time yes and, just to stay committed. But you actually have to be intentional every single day and say yes every single day. And even in different moments that you weren't expecting, challenges, you have to remember your yes and your commitment. And so I made that decision to do things differently, more healthily, and really bring a focus to those of us that are in business, those of us that have families, those of us that are leaders, and that pretty much covers everyone, to just be more mindful of what's coming out of you, because what comes out of you is what everybody else is affected by, and it's just time to live healthy from the inside out.
Let's talk about what you just said, because you gave us, seriously, a mouthful to chew on, a mouthful. Healthy. That word alone is a all day, all year conversation. Intentional, that's a lifetime conversation right there. And thank you so much for sharing your story, for being authentic in sharing your story. So glad that God saw fit to say, girl, I'm not done with you yet, so come on, partner with me, and it is a partnership, and get it together. So I want to talk about what you said. Your body attacked your body. And
Correct.
As women, sometimes we don't think the choices we're making are unhealthy. We're like, I'm good, I got this, I can do that. Can you speak to what are some unhealthy choices that we as women make on a day-to-day basis, and we think we're good and we're literally killing ourselves?
Oh, wow. There are so many, and I know that the norm, and I also know that common to speak about when we talk about this area is what we eat, and absolutely that is definitely something that we need to be aware of, our habits as far as our food choices. But really for me, what I realize is sometimes, because we're shifting now, where I believe there is a percentage of women that understand that we have value, not that was given to us by any person, but that was innately born within us, when God created us as women. So I'm really grateful for the shift that is happening in our world. But I think one of the things that we do is we do numb and mute our voices. And I think it's really important for us to find our voice as women. It's going to be important as we navigate corporate America. It's important as we navigate our relationships, whether that is with our significant other, as mothers, as daughters, as sisters, aunts, and just the sisterhood, the community of the sisterhood. We mute our voices even to our Creator, even to God. There are certain things we feel that He can handle, and then other things we take into our own hands. And so we just need to remember how powerful we are as individuals, as women. You know, I talk about our influence, the power of our influence, the power of us being interceptors. We have such innate wisdom and foresight that God has given us that we literally can intercept things before they attack us, our families, and those we care about, and even those things that are special to us. We have the ability to be incubators. God has positioned us to carry children, but we also carry our destiny. We also carry, our legacy. Those things, we carry our assignment, those things that God has given us, and we birth it just like we do our children at the appointed time that God has designed. So he's given us so many things, and I could go on as women what he's given us, but none of it is going to come to manifestation and to fruition if we mute our voices. The power lies in our voice. One of the things that I had to learn during this process, and I'm still learning, is to how to use my voice, but being so mindful that I'm so powerful that I can use that voice to destroy, or I can use it to build up. And it's a struggle for all of us. But let's start with understanding the power of our voice. When I didn't think I could have a difficult conversation, it just started to build on the inside of me because I couldn't let it out. I felt like I didn't have room. I didn't have space. And that was a lie that I told myself, because even if you can't have the difficult conversation one-on-one, physically, live with said individual or individuals, you can still honor yourself and change your habits and have that conversation within yourself. You may not get that opportunity to reach out, but you can definitely reach in and begin that healing that you need. So if the conversation never happens, your mentality has been shifted. Your mentality is in a different position, so it really doesn't matter. And it's all about honoring what you deserve, which brings me to the second point. After, realizing the power of your voice, understanding how much we need to honor ourselves. Our assignments, our roles, our responsibilities were not given to us to be a burden to us. They were given as the icing on the cake of who we already are. And we can't lose ourselves, including our voices. We can't lose our desires and our dreams and the things that we have been called specifically to do that may not be even connected with a specific role or a specific assignment. And so we have to continually honor ourselves and realize when something doesn't feel right and something is not right for us, and being able to say, you know what, I didn't like that. It's no different from when we're eating a meal and it didn't sit well with us physically. A lot of times we'll say, well, I'll never eat there again, or I'll never have that meal again. It's just something about it. You may enjoy it, but it's not for me. I want us to be able to do that for our entire life, in every area of our entire life, and realize that we deserve to honor ourselves. We're not taking anything away from anybody that loves us and cares about us and has our best interests at heart. But when we realize that we are actually in control of the value that we place on ourselves, we will be in a different position as it relates to how we deal with the challenges of the world that come against us. And even as we, like I said, navigate these different things that we have to do in our lives. It's so very important.
Thinking of meals, like I'm sitting at the table with you, and it's like having my favorite meal where I am like totally full. You know how you eat something you really enjoy and you're like full, but you're like, let me take another bite. That's how I'm feeling right now. Like, oh, let me take another bite of what you're saying. Let me chew on that just a little bit more. So use your voice. That's so important in being healthy, and honoring yourself. Those are two great points that we as women, I believe, sometimes we have a little difficulty with that. So let's talk about that using your voice for just a minute more. I want to chew on that a little bit. Sometimes in using our voice, we use our voice and we say things like, I said, did you hear me? Like, what part of what I said didn't you understand? Forget it. I'll do it myself because I got this. You know, we use our voice and our power to say, I could do it. Forget it. I don't need you. Is that healthy or unhealthy?
I think it depends on how it is coming out. Like, where is it coming from? Is it coming from a place of resentment? Is it coming from a place of bitterness? Is it coming from a place of anger? If it's coming from any of those toxic places, then the recipient is going to feel that and may not receive it in a way that we would have liked. And that's why we have to get ourselves together before we use our voice for the change that we want to see. So that's why first conversation has to be with yourself. What do you want? What don't you like? What do you want to see? What do you believe that you deserve? And once you have built that conversation within yourself, then I think you're at the place where you can go and make your request known, make your needs known, your desires, and your voice, and but just not muting it and continually feeling abused or unappreciated, et cetera, et cetera.
So, in other words, check yourself before you wreck yourself. You got to know what's going on inside yourself, right?
You're listening to Conversations on Courage with your host, RJ Jackson, the Courage Giver. Quick, call your friends and invite them to listen in.
Michelle, so you suffered a heart attack at an early age. What lessons did you learn? Tell us maybe 2 lessons you learned from that experience that will help us grow to be healthier women.
So I realized that quiet time is very important. We are not machines, no matter how much we try to act subconsciously that we are. And when I think about machines, even machines break down if you don't keep them up. They need to be replaced. There's parts that grow old over time from wear and tear. And our bodies, our mind is no different. So one of the things that I learned is how important quiet time is with you and yourself, your feelings, your thoughts. That is where actually you receive a lot of the answers to the questions that you have. But if we become so busy in our roles, in our assignments, and we just keep going, we won't get the answers. We'll have more questions than answers because, as you mentioned, my heart attack took place on October 15th, but January 1st, I started that year in utter confusion about a certain aspect of my life, and that is where I was using my voice, saying how confused I was, and I was just speaking it, but I never took the time to get as quiet as I needed to be about it. And that was a detriment to me. And so now I know how important it is as women that we sit in silence. Silence is golden. Silence is a gem. It's where you find your answers. And maybe not the first time, but as you continue to sit in meditation and sit in quietness and be still, you'll be surprised the clarity and the peace that will come over you.
I recently heard that as women, we like the noise. And a part of the reason why we like the noise is because it keeps us from hearing the truth.
That's
silence.
So good.
Yeah. Silence at the proper season is wisdom, and it's better than any speech or words we could say. You know what they say about the truth, right? The truth what?
Will set you free.
Hurt. Yeah, it will
set
you free.
Yes.
It hurts. But that's the part we forget, what you just said. It will not only set you free, but the truth heals.
Yes.
And we find our truth in our silence.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to encourage those of you who are listening to do what Michelle just shared with you. Girl, be quiet. just be quiet. Like, pretty much. Like, seriously. In a loving way, but seriously. Be quiet. Like, be still and know that God is God. He got you, girl. He got you. He hasn't forgotten about you, but he wants to partner with you. So, Michelle, thanks for sharing those lessons that you learned in your journey. And a lot of times we as women forget that's what we're supposed to do, share the journey. We get so afraid to share, thinking, what are people going to think about me? What are they going to say? So thank you for your courage to share your story, to help someone else understand that they don't have to live where they're dying, and they certainly don't have to die where they're living.
Yes.
Powerful, powerful stuff you got here, girl. So appreciate you. All right, so let me ask you another question, something else to give us a chance to chew on, all this good stuff, this sweet finger-licking good stuff you're sharing with us. I know that you're a leader. You talk to leaders. You speak to entrepreneurs. So let's talk about being connected spiritually as a leader, as an entrepreneur, while branding a business, or simply, hey, just living life for those people who don't have a business. Because we're talking about being healthy, and being connected spiritually is as healthy as you can get. So let's talk about that.
Yes, with all the noise, it's very difficult to stay connected spiritually. Again, those words like intention and commitment and saying yes again and again is very important. But I think as entrepreneurs and just as a leader, the way you stay spiritually connected is you have to actually commit to spiritual practices. So things like reading the Word of God. And I know that it's difficult, again, with our time and our schedule and all of the things that we have going on in our lives. So you really have to set that time to do those things. But we live in a society now where there's no excuse. We have it on our phones. We have the apps on our phones. We don't have to, dust it off and open up and, go to the woodlands of the Bible and try to find something deep. There's different podcasts now that you can listen to by Christian leaders and that are inspirational and motivational enough for you. But it's just really being able to keep your mind at a place, at a high level, so that when low things happen, as our wonderful and always First Lady has said, when they go low, we go high. How do we do that? We do that by staying spiritually connected, having our mind at a certain level, so that no matter what's happening beneath, it's not going to utterly destroy me and break me down. I have to address it, yes. I have to face that truth that I don't like, yes. But at the end of the day, you haven't changed me mentally. You haven't adjusted me emotionally, which I think is so important. So reading the Word, obviously, praying is super, super duper important, which is just having a conversation with God. And I believe also journaling is so important. Journaling, writing down your thoughts. The Bible says write the vision, make it plain, so that when you're off the scene, when you are done and gone, those that are left behind can pick it up and see what it is that you wrote and what you wanted. I think it's very important as well because it purges. Writing purges. I think it's also important that you find a mentor, a spiritual mentor, someone that is already doing what you want to do, or someone that you admire that can speak into your life, and it doesn't have to be someone that you've ever met, but it could just be someone that you watch from afar. I believe that having integrity is so important. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. We make mistakes, we mess up, being man enough, woman enough to apologize and go the other way. repent and do things differently. I've seen it time and time again, and being able to incorporate your faith in your business. So that could be in your bio on Instagram or Facebook. You don't have to shout and hold a banner up, I'm a believer, I'm a believer, I'm a person of faith. They'll see it just by the way you carry yourself, your conversations, and even, your posting. Some people may not like to put their faith in their feed, but you can definitely now put your faith in your Insta stories or Facebook stories. So, just and making sure finally that you have a fellowship of believers that you constantly go to, that can pour into you, that you can receive for this fight that we're all in to really live the best life that God has given us. Those are just few of the things that I believe. There's a blueprint already there. You just have to tap into it, and you'll know what you need more of in all that I've said. If you need to pray more, if you need to read more, if you need to write more, if you need a mentor, whatever it is, you'll know what it is that you need to upgrade your spiritual level. But it's all there for all of us.
So if I could sum up what you just said in one word, it would be another one of those important C words, and it is connect. Connect with the Father, connect with other people, connect with yourself, connect.
That's so good.
Wow.
That's it.
And you know what? It's powerful because we live in a world, seriously, right now in a time and age of disconnect because we are so disconnected, even though we have all these resources to be connected. You named them. We got apps for everything. There's no excuse for us not to connect spiritually and emotionally and socially with other people, with our Creator, and with ourselves.
Yes.
But we got excuses of why we don't do it, right?
Absolutely. So drop the excuses, and when you know better, you do better, right? Sometimes,
Michelle, because sometimes we know better. Yeah, sometimes we know better, and it's like, tomorrow. Sometimes we hear the doctor saying, give up that hamburger, and like, I love my hamburger. I ain't giving up nothing. You got to die or something,
Right. Oh, no.
Right? We have all kinds of excuses why we don't live life to the fullest.
Yes.
But here's the key. This is it. Now is the time. We never know what's going to happen later today, let alone tomorrow. We never know when that warning sign, like you said, hey, my body started attacking my body. We never know when that's going to happen.
You're right about it. And I do believe that there are signs. There are signs. It's up to us if we're going to pay attention to them or not. And that's why self-love has to be at a certain level, self-value. And staying spiritually connected will help you to love yourself and to value yourself even when others won't and don't.
So you talked about loving yourself, taking care of yourself, staying connected, having a group of women surround you that have values that you have, journaling, taking time out. These are all important things. What are maybe 2 disciplines that you have that you do on a daily basis to take care of you?
To take care of me, I love my podcast. I cannot live without my podcast. I will get it in however I can, in the line, at the bank, right before bed. I have to have my podcast. There are certain times that I know what certain people stand for, and that's why it's so important to use your gifts, what they stand for, what they offer. So if I'm feeling a certain way, I will plug in, for example, Dr. Cindy Trim, if I'm not feeling well in my body, and she has a whole prayer on, it's about 45 minutes on health and she calls out so many diseases, things I've never even heard of, but she speaks life over you, the atmosphere, your children, everything connected to you. So my podcast and, being able to tap into whoever is being able to speak into my spirit is so important. So that's a discipline that I definitely have. And, I hate to go back to it, but I'm going to go back to it. My peace is my priority. Like I'm at a level, I don't know if it's being in your 40s or whatnot, but I'm telling you, if you are coming and you are not coming in peace, I am not going to engage. I am not going to connect at all. I will just, deal with you at the level where you are giving, and I got to get stepping, because once I get entangled, I may not be able to untangle myself. So, RJ, I have learned to make peace my priority, because I know what turmoil feels like, and I'm talking about the turmoil in the mind, the body, the spirit, and the soul. So peace is my priority, which, like I said, goes back to my quiet time. I have to get quiet. I have to figure out the answers. I have to, so that I can continue to navigate and, continue my own assignment, because I have my own responsibility.
All right, so I love that, because you know what? You can't pay for peace. And so There are women listening right now who are living in that turmoil you're talking about, spiritually, emotionally, physically, financially, in their relationships, and they have literally given their peace away. And so let's encourage them to get it back and don't let nobody steal it. So let's tell them, girl, don't let nobody steal your peace, okay?
Yes.
Listen, nobody. That's why God says, let this mind be in you that's also in Christ. And he said he'll keep you in perfect peace if you keep your mind stayed on him. And that's what Michelle was talking about, right? That's what she was talking about, being spiritually connected. If you do these things, which keeps your mind stayed on him. Get out the noise, girl. Get out the noise. Shh. Did you hear what Michelle said? Shh.
Yeah.
Cállate. In case you're not bilingual, that means be quiet.
Right. Oh, my goodness.
Michelle, I know you wear many hats. You're a mother. You're a wife, first lady, consultant, entrepreneur. Just
author.
Tell us a little bit. Author, tell us a little bit about Michelle, like not necessarily your hats, but your passion.
My passion is really for people to tap into what God has given them to do. And I know that we are creative beings, and there's so much that the world needs right now. And if everyone can look at themselves as a solution, that's why really we were created. When God decided to bring us here to the earth realm, it was to solve a problem, because there's so many issues and challenges that the world faces. And so each of us need to look within ourselves and say, what am I here to solve? Hence, you will find your assignment. And it's not always going to come from a bed of roses, a beautiful experience, but really sometimes from negative experiences and from, challenges in life. That's where you will find your assignment. That is where you will find what it is that God has called you to do. So if you were born, into a foster home, for example, you may now turn and start ministering to foster children. You may have a heart for them, a passion for them. So I like people to tap into their creative nature, their innate gifts, and see that manifested, because I love to be inspired. If I'm not inspired, I'm not living. I love to inspire, and I love to be inspired. And the only way that's going to happen is when everybody is tapped into their own innate gifts, and they're manifesting that thing creatively as God has given it to them. So that is my passion, and I have a passion for girls. I have a passion for youth. I believe that they are one of the most remarkable beings that there is, and I love to grab them before they enter into adulthood and letting them know that you are somebody. You need confidence. You have to build your character and have proper conduct as you navigate as a teenage girl before you embark on womanhood. And I love the fact that I'm a mother of teens, and so they are what I like to say, my live experience, my live homework that I get just by hearing their stories, looking at their journey. It's not all perfect. It's not wonderful, but I just know that, with the right tools, mentorship, and people speaking into their lives, one day they're going to blossom and bloom just like all of us have into what God ultimately desires us to be. So really that is my passion. Tap into those gifts, manifest them creatively.
So as we tap into our gifts, and thank you so much for sharing that, as we tap into our gifts, we have to realize that our attitude, our behavior, and our mindset, they define our spirit, which is the seat of our emotions. So
yes.
If we're going to master our emotions, our first order of business is to check our feelings. And that's
Correct.
what you talk about in your book, Spirit Check. So let's talk about mastering our emotions.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, you have to get out of your feelings. Just the other day, Drake had a song. Everybody was dancing to it. Everybody was singing it, In My Feelings. And I was like, no, you're saying the opposite of what needs to happen, Drake. We have to get out of our feelings because our feelings, like one of my favorite podcaster, Myleik Teal says, she says, feelings aren't facts. They come, they go. You can't depend on your feelings, but it's really what is the fact. Look for the truth. We talked about that earlier, and sometimes, we have feelings that are not necessarily the truth, and we walk in that lie, and we hold on to it and hug it and think that it's the best thing since sliced bread, and it's not. It's killing us because we haven't faced that truth. So that we can clean up the toxins that, we live in sometimes. And so I talk about 5 emotions in my book, Spirit Check: jealousy, intimidation, fear, pride, and anger, which I believe that we all get challenged with, or if someone else that we know is being challenged in that toxic area. And it happens to be someone that we have to deal with, someone that we love and we care about. And so how do we check ourselves so that we don't get checked? And that's the thing. When you check yourself, nobody can check you. So it's a constant awareness, constant self-awareness, like, I really can't have this conversation right now. I'm not good for anyone right now. Let me get myself together. And there's just so much I share in the book about anger and do you have the right to be angry, and what do you do with some of these emotions like intimidation? We just talked about gifts, RJ, and manifesting them creatively. Sometimes we look out and we see so many people doing the same things that we're doing, or even things that we want to do, and we get intimidated and we want to step back into the shadows. So how do you navigate some of those things when your girlfriend has a man or a family or a new car, and you still struggling over there, and you're like a little tinge of jealousy, full-blown jealousy, whatever the case may be? How do you navigate all of these things? It's okay. You're human. You're going to have feelings. But what I'm saying, the ones that are toxic, you don't have to live in them and make them be a part of your character.
Okay, so once again, girl, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And one of the best ways to check yourself is to get your hands on a copy of Michelle's book, Spirit Check. Michelle, how can we not only get a copy of your book, but stay connected with you?
Thank you so much. Yes, you can go to my website, which is www.michelleharriscoach.com. RJCollins.com. And it's also on Amazon. You just type in Spirit Check. It will pop right up. But it's definitely going to bless your life. I've had people getting it for their mothers, their enemies, their friends, and absolutely for themselves, because our spirit is really who we are. And we just need to be mindful of what we're putting out into the world.
And if you missed that information, you can always get it on our website, conversationsoncourage.com. That's conversationsoncourage.com. Yeah, girl, I'm so full. I'm so full, but I got to have one more bite. Just one more bite. Tell us words of courage that you would love to leave with us to encourage our heart.
So fear, false evidence appearing real. We've all heard the acronym, and sometimes we find it difficult to apply it to our own life. But what I understand about courage is when you step out and do that thing that you are most fearful about, once you're on the other side, you will be able to not only gain new muscles that you never thought you could, you will not only be able to find the strength to continue on that you didn't know you would have, but you'll be able to see that that thing that you were so fearful of was really not that big at all. When we think about David, who stood up to the giant Goliath, when you look physically, it didn't make sense. It looked like it was a done deal. The giant was going to win. But David, with his confidence, not in himself, but in God, and also having the courage to have already conquered other things, he stood in the face of a giant and said, "Today you're going down." And he called on the help of the Lord. So don't forget God in everything that you do. But I'm telling you, nothing is sweeter, nothing is better than getting on the other side of fear. In between is courage. That's what you need. So grab a hold of courage today, and don't let fear stop you from getting to the other side.
Thank you so much, not only for the great meal, but for joining us at the table and making us stronger women to do what we've been called to do. Thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, Michelle. Girl, this was like eating at my favorite restaurant where you can't wait to get the meal, then you get the meal, and it's like you eat it so fast because you know it's going to be so good. And you're full, but you want more. Oh, Michelle, you have served such an amazing meal today, reminding us as women how important it is to have emotional wellness, to be still, to be quiet, to take care of ourselves, self-love, and to make sure we get our spirit in check. Check yourself. That's what you told us before you wreck yourself. And we certainly don't want to do that because our life matters. We have value. And so I want to remind you, sister, as you are listening, your life counts. You matter. So gather up your courage and be all that God has created you to be. And the good news is you don't have to do it alone. We're here to help you. Now that we've had that amazing meal, get up and take action. Let's go, because you know if you just sit there with all that food, it's going to settle all in the wrong places. And we want it to go to work for us. So get up, girl. It's time to take action.
Thank you for joining us for Conversations on Courage. Now that you've been inspired, informed, and encouraged, it's time for you to take action. So head on over to thecouragegiver.com. That's thecouragegiver.com and connect with RJ for a personal conversation on courage. She's waiting to help you take the risk you need to succeed.